everything's been going pretty good. Just staying at it.
Oh, I'm proud of you, man, and congratulations for picking this up.
Thank you very much. I'm super excited. Thank you for the opportunity.
No, it's good to have you back. It seems like just yesterday.
Yeah, I know. GPF.
Yep, and here we are. It's great. Johnny, thank you so much for doing this, man.
Hey, no, this is all up to you guys, and I appreciate it, Rob. And Chance, good job at A1, dude. How was that track? Those two whoop sections look gnarly.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal. Thank you. I appreciate it. But yeah, I didn't quite finish the way I wanted to, but it was good getting in the night show and yeah, getting the ball rolling. So we'll start heading in the right direction.
Are you your own mechanic all season long, or just that race?
Yeah. Yep, I'm my own mechanic. So the guy that was doing my suspension for me, he was helping me out at this last round, but we're going to Missouri this weekend, and I'm just carpooling with my buddy and his dad, and it's just my girlfriend down here with me because I don't have to pay her to be my girlfriend. So, but yeah, so I just have someone down here with me. I couldn't afford to swing a mechanic, so. Yeah.
Well, I sort of just want to introduce you two guys, and definitely for my viewers, because they picked you, Chance, I wanted to just get a little bit of insight on what your goals were for the season, and then after that, just kind of have Rob tell you what he's going to do for you, and pretty much I just was the middleman that kind of connected you two.
Right on. Well, I appreciate it.
No, this is great.
Yeah, my goals for the season, I really want to go into next year with a 2-digit number, so I really want to be getting in those mains, and yeah, that's my goal, is to get into as many mains as I can and to just improve.
Are you going to try to race both West and East, or just West?
Just West. So I have to, at the beginning of the season for 250, I have to choose one or the other. So I don't have a 450, so I don't think that I'll be going to unless my friend, he's on a 450. So if he goes to Daytona, I might try to hit that or something. But yeah, I think I'm West Coast.
And is it sketchy just being your own mechanic? Do you ever feel like maybe the bike's going to fail, or do you have 100% faith in your ability, or how about that? How does that go?
Well, yeah, I have faith, and I guess it just hasn't really failed me yet. So I've always kind of been one to second guess things. So I guess it's kind of better if I'm doing it myself. I can at least blame myself. I like triple check everything. So yeah, I mean, I've got a guy that does my motors and stuff, and all the big stuff like that. But all the little things I just take care of.
Yeah. So you're not running just a stock bike.
For the most part, I've just been running the, stock chassis, stock engine right now.
No, I've got just some headwork and an ignition. That's it. So
awesome.
Didn't get.
I just had a little tone because so many people think that everybody just runs stock stuff.
But maybe on a 450, yeah.
How old are you, Chance?
23.
23, and how long have you had your pro license?
This is my third year
Awesome.
of Supercross. So this would be my fourth. I did a half season before that of outdoors because I got my outdoor license like halfway through the year. So
yeah. Do you like Supercross more than outdoors, or what's your preference?
Man, if you would have asked me that last year, I would have said outdoors for sure, but Supercross is growing on me. I really like it.
It's pretty cool just with all the fans and just the attention that's involved.
Yeah, going to a Supercross race as opposed to going to an outdoor race, it's definitely a different feel. It feels a lot more fun.
There's no guy with a bunch of beer and, his shirt off.
Right, right, yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
So what do you think's your biggest struggle for Supercross? Is it your program with your nutrition and your training, or is it the bike, or is it just you got to get a little bit more technical with the tracks, etc.? Like you need to just try to go a little bit faster. What do you think's holding you up?
Yeah, I think just going a little bit faster, but I think that kind of all the things you listed before that, I think, that has a big deal with, or a big effect on going faster. So yeah, the whole package really. I mean, it's kind of chaotic. doing everything myself, and with traveling and stuff like that every day to go ride as well, it's sometimes it's hard with bike work or whatever to fit a strict training regimen in. So yeah, it's been a hustle, but I've been making everything work, and I've been doing my own stuff as far as working out goes and everything. But it'd be really nice to have structure, and I'm fine when somebody tells me what to do.
Yeah, that's what I was telling Rob with the conversations we've had, like.
Yeah.
But just before I let Rob just completely go over, what does your everyday life look like right now, just from waking up to going race, and just a quick overview of what a week looks like getting up to Saturday night for the race?
Yeah, so before the races came into play, it was a little, I was able to ride a little bit more during the week and stuff, so I was about at least 3 days a week, mostly 4 days a week. But yeah, just get up in the morning. The closest track is about an hour away. All the other ones were an hour and a half to 2 hours, so the driving was a big thing. But yeah, I go and I get 40 to 50 laps in when I go out and practice, and then I come back, clean everything up, and then I've been just mostly hitting the spinner in my room, and I'll do that for usually about an hour, at least an hour, and then try to stretch after that. And well, I have been stretching after that, because I had to go to the chiropractor and get x-rayed because my lower back was hurting so bad, and I went and saw Dr. Steve Navarro, and he said I had anterior pelvic tilt, where my hips were rotated forward and it was pinching my spine. So I've had to do a ton of stretching and stuff to kind of loosen everything back up, but it was bad for a couple weeks, let me tell you.
Riding is not good on the body.
No.
Every time I go to the PT, they're like, "Why are you all hunched forward? And why are you doing that?" I'm like, "Well, because when I'm on a bike, I'm all hunched forward." So,
yeah. It's funny too. The older I'm getting, I'm only 23, but I'm still noticing it. Like when I was 16, 17, stretching, it was like, yeah, whatever. And now I'm like, man, I did not stretch, and I can feel it. So,
what is your worst injury right now that you've had to deal with? Because I know something's had to happen in the 10 plus years you probably ridden.
The longest one I had, I was off the bike for about 10 months. I broke the navicular in my ankle. The what was the name of that? Wow, I'm blanking on the name of it. Do you remember the name of it, Mom? Yeah, it was the navicular in my ankle. Couldn't get the blood flow coming back through for a really long time, and we were keeping up on it. I did 3 ribs at the same time, but those healed up in 6 weeks. So yeah, the ankle was a brutal one. I was kind of just waiting to see if it'd have to get fused or not, and that happened 3 years ago. So yeah, I was all good after that.
Sorry, Chance. Well, I'm gonna leave it up to Rob, and I'm just gonna shut up and let him have the center stage.
All right, man. Sounds good.
No, that was perfect, Johnny, because, that's exactly the direction that we want to go with. Is when we start trying to develop a program, I think so many people get overzealous, and they're like, oh, we're going to do 25 hours of cross training, and we'll do 20 hours on the bike and all of that. And Chance, like you were saying, I mean, you're spinning wrenches, you're driving, I don't know what the preparation of food looks like, but that's always difficult. I do like what you're saying, and Johnny, again, your questions were, Johnny, no pun intended, Johnny on the spot there. Those are the things that we have to kind of reverse engineer with. Is there is no performance program that's one shoe fits all. My biggest frustration as a performance coach is you go and you hire a registered dietitian, they don't understand moto. You hire a sports psychologist, they really don't understand moto. You get a strength and conditioning coach, they don't understand moto. Get a cardio guy or girl, they don't understand moto. Get a massage therapist, they don't understand moto. Like you were saying, Chance, when you look at that pelvis, you understand that your quadriceps, they insert from the patella tendon right above the knee. They insert at what's called the ASIS, which is anterior superior iliac spine, which is the front of your pelvis. Well, if those muscles are tight, they're just going to grab the top of the pelvis and they're going to rotate it forward. Now, you're going to a very reputable guy, and I'm glad you're going there. He knows his stuff. The thing that I want the listeners to understand is sometimes stretching is only making the condition worse because of something known as a stretch reflex. If you keep trying to stretch those quadriceps, the stretch reflex is designed to keep you from tearing the tissue. So as you stretch it, you're lengthening the tissue, and then all of a sudden the reflex comes in and it shortens it as a self-defense mechanism, ends up tearing and creating scar tissue. Scar tissue is not elastic. Next thing you know, your range of motion is actually limited because of your stretching. So what we always say to our clients is do some sport-specific activity to warm it up, then do some foam rolling, then do some single muscle isolated stretches, and then be able to go out and get on the motorcycle or do your cross training and stuff like that. So um, the first thing I would want to start with is how are you managing intensity, both cross training as well as on the motorcycle? Do you wear a heart rate monitor?
I do when I'm on the bicycle, because I usually, that's the thing, is my riding has been, I've pretty much just been going full bore on the riding, and then on the spin bike I'm like heart rate zone 2 to recover, and then stretch from there. So most of my training is on the bike as far as intensity. So that's just kind of what I was doing.
Well, and that makes plenty of sense. Like you say, when you've got an hour drive each way, then you're at the track for 2 to 3 hours. Next thing you know, that's a 4 or 5 hour day out of the typical person works 8 to 10 hours. The drive time, the food time, the recovery time. The reason why I like to ask about the heart rate monitor, and I want the listeners to really think about this, we as physiologists want to get the body acclimated to what that intensity feels like. But here's the dangerous part. One max heart rate number does not apply to all modalities. Max heart rate on the motorcycle is going to be higher than the rower, higher than the run, higher than a bicycle, higher than swimming, depending on what cross-training modality you're using. That's one of the biggest mistakes that people make, is they use one max heart rate number and try to apply it across all. The more muscle tissue you use, the higher the heart rate. So for example, running will always be higher than cycling because of the impact. When you look at the motorcycle or you look at Concept 2 rower, you're using a lot more muscle tissue. The reason why I bring it up in this initial meeting is when we're talking about developing and improving overall speed, there's only two things that we got to stay focused on. And the listener is going to be surprised by this. And I don't want it to sound out of context. It's actually more relevant than people understand. And I hope they'll stick around and listen. You cannot go fast until you're strong. You cannot go fast until you can slow. Let me elaborate. When you look at an aerobic function, it's the cardiac output. It's the volume of blood that comes out. So as we improve the strength of your heart, cardiovascular fitness, you're able to put out more volume of blood with less beats, which means you can go longer, faster before you get tired. Sounds pretty simple on a piece of paper, but that's what we need to build off the bike. Like you said, Chance, most of your work is we just got to do motos. We got to get up to race speed. We're going to talk, and Johnny will, hopefully we can document this and share it with the listeners and the viewers. We've got to get your brain to be able to process progressively faster rates of speed before you can go faster. If you and I are throwing a baseball and we're throwing it at 40 miles an hour and a Major League Baseball player comes in and throws that ball at 100 miles an hour, it's still the same ball in two gloves. It's your brain's ability to process those speeds. Now, obviously, in this first initial meeting, we can't get into all the nuances of it, but keep in mind, I love what you're saying. I want to be faster. We all want to be faster. What's the limiting factor? Your brain's ability to process that speed. Sure, there's other things, suspension, motor, entry. There's a lot of nuances that go into the entrance of a whoop section. But for you to be able to blitz them, and we find this mainly with our amateur riders, they'll downshift in the air to control their entrance speed into a corner, not realizing it's your brain's ability to control speed. Think about it. The first time you blitz a set of whoops, you have to go change your pants afterwards. It's not that it was anything new. It was just, oh my gosh, I have to process this new rate of speed.
Right.
So what we'll be working on, and we'll share it with the viewers, is we're going to work on increasing your overall strength. I want all the listeners to think about this. Parallel strength as the size of your bore. parallel your aerobic engine as the size of your carburetor when we used to have carburetors. Okay.
Hmm.
So if I have a KX500 with a KX85, or in the day, a KX80 carburetor, it's got the power, but it doesn't get the air fuel mixture to produce the necessary power. We're going to create one extra dynamic of confusion. I've got a big bore kit. I've got an oversized carb, but I have a pipe that's too small. Well, now all that metabolic output gets backed up. We all get it intuitively on a motorcycle, but physiologically, people are all over the board. Doing nothing but speed work off the motorcycle does not make you fast on the motorcycle. You got to build the aerobic engine. You got to build the strength base. You have to build the capillary beds to get rid of metabolic waste, lactic acid. And you already hit the biggest point, not the biggest, but one of the significant points. And Johnny, I like what you said. Body position is going to be negatively influenced by a lack of flexibility. But in our sport, foam rolling, trigger point therapy, massage therapy, contrast therapy, oh, that's fluffy. I don't want to do that. Really? I can't get you into the right anatomical position on a bike stand. How am I going to do it at velocity? It's physiologically impossible. So I'm glad that you're already open to doing that kind of stuff. But what you'll start to see is we will take your overall weekly training schedule. We'll break it into hours. We're going to subdivide that, what percentage is aerobic and anaerobic, and make sure that we don't tip the scale so that you're starting to come into the races fatigued. That's a very dangerous. When you work in a mode of fear, you see a lot of athletes are like, oh, I got to get another one in, got to get another one in. Well, now you just left your best performances on Tuesday, Wednesday. You pull into A1 and you're flat.
Right.
So we're going to make sure that we keep that from happening by by monitoring your resting heart rate and some other biofeedback indicators. If your body's showing it's not absorbing, we're going to back off. We're not going to be emotional. We're going to be very quantified with it. Sometimes, and I'm glad that you're open to structure, sometimes that quantified analysis turns a lot of people off, but I guarantee you won't come into the races flat on our program. We're going to make sure that you're very dynamic and ready to go. We're going to get into things like the importance of a warm-up. A lot of times people will use half the race to get their, what we call the metabolic shuffle, getting the lactic acid shuffle moving. When you, especially these short qualifiers, I mean, it's amazing. You guys can barely sneeze and the race is over.
Yeah.
So we'll make sure that you have the proper warm-up. So when the gate drops, that metabolic shuffle is already in motion. You can race to the finish, feel good. We'll put together a hydration and nutrition strategy to keep your blood sugar stabilized, get you ready for that main event so that you're hitting your marks. There's a direct correlation. As blood sugar drops, your lap times will get slower almost across the board. Some of it's because you're casing things and mistiming things. It's always a low blood sugar issue.
Gotcha.
Always a blood sugar issue.
I have your hydration, your energy fuel. I have a couple packs of it.
Fantastic.
So,
I'm glad that I appreciate you using it.
Yeah, I've still been on that. So
great. Well, it's, and for people who don't know, I own my own supplement business, and I'm not in the business of peddling supplements. The catalyst for me creating them was I couldn't find products that had the right profile and or the right quality. So I'm glad that you're on it. It's made out of raw sugar cane, so it's a real food, and it has added electrolytes because that's what we know that is being lost through sweat. So we want to keep the sodium potassium pump, keep the muscle contraction firing, all the other electrolytes in balance. So thank you for using it, and I'm glad it's working.
Yep.
No GI distress and stabilized energy is what it's all about. So it's going to be fun. Johnny, we always talk a little bit about this, but I'm sure that physiology in your program was up to this level that Chance is going to be on, huh?
When I was racing, I was sort of doing what Chance was doing, is I would take little tidbits here and there, and I always came into the races. Unfortunately, it seemed worn out because I always felt like I had to do so much during the week in order to feel prepared. And by the time the weekend came, I was like, man, I'm ready to sleep and just chill.
Yep.
I don't want to wake up. And with your program, it sounds just having that weight off your shoulders of knowing, you know what, I'm ready. You know, if
right.
I don't even
no
believe in,
guess.
yeah, no second guessing. If I don't believe and trust myself, I'm trusting you, Rob, and I know you're not steering me away. So if you're telling me I'm ready for battle, hell yeah, I'm ready for battle. And that's
Right.
what
Well, and I like the word that you said. It's not about me telling Chance is ready. I'm going to show him with the quantified metrics that we use, because I don't like to work in a world of emotion. But at the end of the day, we can look at strength to weight ratios. We can look at max heart rate numbers. We can look at VO2 max numbers. We can get as technical as you want. At the end of the day, my responsibility morally and ethically is that he comes in 1% undertrained, so we don't have adrenal fatigue, Epstein-Barr, all the long-term ramifications of running yourself ragged. And then when he rolls that bike into the gate, it's not about him having confidence in me. It's having confidence in what he did and understanding why he did it and how it's going to parlay into fast times, fast out of the blocks, which we would consider sprint speed, as well as the necessary endurance to carry it all the way to that finish line. Because I hate to say this, we're not even going to be training long term for the 250 class. We got to be able to go another 5 minutes. We got to be ready for the future. That's the part that's so hard with the sport. If I'm training him super mini rider, if he's hit puberty, we're getting him ready for a 125. When they're on a 125, we're getting it ready for a 250. And that's one of the parts that's missing in our sport, is we tend to focus on just the here and now. Now with Chance being a pro, he's a completely different scenario. He's in the dream. You know, I've had the privilege of working with him in the past, so he understands a lot of the methodologies and even some of the ideologies. And, you know, I'm not the most popular for that, because I'm not here to just, you know, suck it up, buttercup, let's go. That to me is when it's transferred over into more the ego of the trainer instead of the athlete having the confidence of why we're doing what we're doing. Because no matter what we boil it down to, I can make anybody physically strong. If you're consistent, if you're sans of an injury or an illness, you'll get stronger with consistency, guaranteed. What I have a responsibility is making sure his confidence is there, because what he rolls into the gate with is all about what's in his helmet. At that point, fitness is done. And that's why we say that on race day, execute the nutrition, execute the warm-up, execute the race plan, go. And that's what's going to be fun with this, is having the confidence for him to say, you know what, I belong up here. I'm not entitled to be up here. Johnny, I love your videos about that. You know, this is a privilege, not
Oh,
an
I
entitlement.
piss and moan quite a bit, so let's be real.
No, I'm right there with you. To me, I'm all about accountability and responsibility. I have no problems explaining why we're doing it, but once you're empowered with the knowledge, when you choose not to do it, that's complacency, and that makes my skin crawl. But, you know, I'm not worried about, especially with us having a privilege of working with a pro like Chance. It's going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you again for this opportunity.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm super excited to get this going.